Erev Tov, Rabotai. Just want to finish what we were talking about yesterday about the Tfilat Arvit, to explain to what we were talking about, because there's a little bit more to add to what we were saying yesterday. We said that according to Zohar Kadosh, there's 3 reasons why we say Arvit prayer: to protect ourselves from the malachim, which the bad malachim, which are coming from Geinam. Their power is coming from there, and we said that at night they have more power because they can punish the people who are in the Geinam twice as much as they can do in the daytime. That's what it says there. So therefore, they can also cause harm to us at night because they have more power. So that's why we say Behu Rachum Yichapir Avon V'lo Yashchit. Like we tell Hakadosh Baruch Hu, don't let them destroy us. These bad angels. We ask him. That's why we say this pasuk from Tehillim. Number 1. Number 2, we said that there's also another problem, which is that people are going out at night. So to protect us from, being harmed when we go outside at night, because they have power to harm us. The mazikim at night, they're strong at night. They have more power. So therefore we say, right? Ushmor tzedekha uvoecha me'ata v'ad olam. Ushmor tzedekenu uvoeinu me'ata v'ad olam. That's what we say, right? Why we say that? Hashem should guard us when we go in and out at night. We go outside; it's dangerous there. So Arvit protect us from also this problem as well. That's the reason number 2 that we gave, right? And there was also another reason, that when a person goes to sleep, his neshama goes up. The problem is that if he did sins, the neshama doesn't go up so good. These malachim, these bad angels, try to prevent him from going up there. To meet HaKadosh Baruch Hu. His neshama should stand before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Melech Malchei Malachim. So these malachim try to stop him from going there, because he has sins. So therefore we say, right, Shomer Tamo Yisrael La'ad. We say this bracha in order that they shouldn't be able to prevent us from going up when we go to sleep. This is the reason why we say Arvit. 3 reasons. Interesting thing, right? It says Zohar Kadosh, furthermore, that what about Shabbat? Right now, Shabbat, says Zohar Kadosh, these masikim don't have power on Shabbat. From Geinam. You know why, my friend? What's the reason why?
Second thing.
Because on Shabbat, Geinam is closed. The shop is closed. They close the Geinam on Shabbat. It doesn't work on Shabbat. So what happens is that all the neshamot that are there, the sinners that are in Geinam, who are being punished in Geinam, on Shabbat they give them rest. Just like we have rest over here, lehavdil. They have also rest over there in Geinam.
Isn't on Shabbat you have second neshama?
Can you imagine? Huh?
On Shabbat.
Oh yeah, that's also another thing, right? That's an interesting thing, but we're not talking about that right now. It's a different. We'll talk about it some other time. Different time. We'll talk about that, about neshama yetera. This is also very interesting and very important. But anyway, what do you call it? So what happens is, right, as we said, that they don't have power on. Geinam is closed. Everything's closed over there. Rest. Everybody's resting. Yeah, it's closed. Yeah. So therefore, right, they have no power to harm us on Shabbat. These mazikim. There's no thing like that on Shabbat. And therefore, this is the reason why we don't say Behu Rachum on Shabbat. We don't say, right? We don't say Behu Rachum. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
Because they don't have the power. We don't need to say. And so it says in Zohar Kadosh, not only that, it's asur to say Behu Rachum on Shabbat, this pasuk. Oh. Asur. Why asur? What's the reason? What does it harm you? What's the harm? Right? So it says, the harm is like this, that if you're saying Behu Rachum on Shabbat, you're showing yourself that you're a kofir. Why is that? Why are you kofir? So the reason is because you don't believe that on Shabbat the mazikim are resting. You don't believe that? You don't believe that the Geinam is closed on Shabbat? You're kofir. That's why you're saying Behu Rachum. So this is no good, It's a chilul Hashem that a person says this on Shabbat. That's what it says in Zohar Kadosh. That's why we don't say Behu Rachum on Shabbat. Right? And also, we don't say Shomer Tamo Yisrael La'ad, right? We don't say this bracha on Shabbat, right? Instead, what do we say? Haforeh Sukkot Shalom Aleinu. Also, we don't need this bracha either, because on Shabbat, everything is pure. There's no mazikim, everything is nice, beautiful, right? On Shabbat, we rest from the mazikim. Everything is tahor, pure. That's the person has to understand, that Shabbat is a great gift, matana, that Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us. You know why? Because all the tumah is resting on Shabbat. It's out. You understand? And we have a beautiful Kedusha, just Kedusha, no Tumah. On Shabbat, everything is Kadosh. So you have to use this day, to get the Kedusha from the day of Shabbat. What does that mean? Don't do the melachot, don't go to work, and do the seudot, do the oneg Shabbat, and do ona with your wife also. You have to do with your wife also. Right? It's a mitzvah, right? It's ona with your wife. They say that if a person does on Shabbat ona with his wife, if she gets pregnant on Leil Shabbat, this will be a neshama tehora, very good neshama. Will come. The child will be kadosh child. Wow. Kadosh. Yeah. So this is the reason. Why? Because Yom Shabbat is kadosh. So you bring also neshama tehora to your wife, to get pregnant on Shabbat. This is the best time to be with your wife.
When you pray on Shabbat, can you ask God for anything that you want, like your wishes and...
Yeah, we already spoke about this, We said, right, that you're not allowed to bakashot on Shabbat. Give me this, give me this, give me this, Hashem. You're not allowed to do on Shabbat. Asur. Why? Because on Shabbat we have everything, We don't need nothing. Don't need to ask Hashem for nothing. Only whatever is in the Siddur. And whatever is written in the Siddur, Barich Shaneh, we ask some things over there, right? Okay. We ask some things on Shabbat. Whatever the Chachamim wrote in the Siddur. But that's it, no more than that, right? Don't ask for Parnasah, don't ask for Refuah Shlema even, Refuah Shlema also you're not supposed to ask for. Unless the person is very sick, He's mamash, meod, he's in really bad shape, like could die, Lo aleinu. There's something dangerous. Otherwise you're not supposed to, that's why, what does the halakha say, right? On Shabbat, do we do mitzvah bikur cholim on Shabbat? Good question, right? Do we do? The answer is yes. There's a mitzvah to also be bikur cholim on Shabbat. But when you go to the chole on Shabbat, to visit him, it's a chesed you're doing him. It's a chesed. It's nice. But you're not allowed to tell him, oh, refuah shlema. Hashem should give you refuah shlema. You're not allowed to say this. Why? Because you're praying for him on Shabbat. Asur. So what do you tell him? Right? So we say, right? Shabbati milizok, refuah krova lavo. This is what we say. Shabbati milizok, refuah krova lavo. What does this mean? You know what this means? We're not allowed to pray for you on Shabbat, but the refuah will come. Don't worry, it'll come. But we're not allowed to pray for you on Shabbat. It'll come. Don't worry. Everything will be good. This is what we tell him when we do Bikkur Cholim on Shabbat. Okay. Anyway, let's get back right to. Now we have to start talking about Pesach, right? We only have 3 weeks. 3 weeks also already Pesach. A little bit more than 3 weeks. When does Pesach start? Motzi Shabbat, right? Motzi Shabbat. Saturday night it starts, right? So this is now, it makes things a little bit interesting, It makes very interesting over here. Why interesting? Because, the Erev Pesach falls on what? Right. On Shabbat. On Shabbat. Erev Pesach. Right. So that means that on Shabbat you have to stop eating chametz already. Asur. You understand? So it becomes a little bit tricky there. So what does that mean? Usually, right, Erev Pesach, let's say Erev Pesach falls on Thursday night, right, or something like that. So what do? Right, we do Birur Chametz in the morning, right? In the afternoon, it's it. You're not going to have any Chametz. It's it, finished, Gamarno. But now, what do we do on Shabbat? Are you allowed to burn Chametz on Shabbat?
No.
Asur. Not allowed to burn Chametz on Shabbat, right? So you have to get rid of it a different way if you have Chametz on Shabbat. You cannot burn it. Asur. What do you do? How do you get rid of it?
Friday.
Okay, but what about Shabbat? You want to get rid of it on Shabbat. How do you do it? You know what you do, right? I'm going to teach you a secret now. Don't tell anybody. I told you. Secret, right? You know what you do, right? You take the toilet and you flush it down. That's it. You flush it down the toilet. You break it up into small pieces. Why? Because otherwise it's going to get clogged, The toilet's going to get clogged. It's going to get clogged. Break it up. Flush it down. Gamarno. That's it. Biur Chametz.
On Shabbat.
Yeah. You're not allowed to burn it. That's the thing, So, how do you do this, right? When this comes like this. Erev Shabbat, Erev Pesach is Shabbat. How do you do? What do you do? So, I'll explain to you 2 ways, to do it. The first way and the second way, right? Each way is good for some people no good. So you got to choose the one which is good for you. I'll explain to you what that means, right? So the truth is, right, according to Halakha, Leil Shabbat, right, Friday night, are you allowed to have chametz? According to Halakha. Yes, it's not Pesach yet. Yes. Mutar. What about in the morning? Are you allowed to have chametz? Shabbat morning? Yes, until the 4th hour, right? Which is like 11 o'clock. You're allowed to have chametz, you know? So after 11 o'clock, you know, you got to stop eating chametz, right? Finish the seudah. And as we said, right, flush it down. That's what you got to do. You know, if you want to do it this way, you want to have chametz on Shabbat. You know, so what you got to do is like this, you know? Have chametz, bring some pitot, you know? Because the challah, you know, it falls over the place, you know, like the perurim, you know, the crumbs. It's balagan, you know? So if you want to have chametz on Shabbat, what do? Bring pitot, you know, it's going to stay nice and clean. Everything is good, right? You eat pitot, right? Leil Shabbat, and also in the morning, if you finish early, right, the tefillah, if you go to nets, you know, something like this, right? And you finish, let's say, the nets, you know what time they finish the nets prayer? About 8:30, finished. 8:30, finished. Gamarno. So what do? Go home and eat seudah, 9 o'clock, you know? And then you got to finish, like, you know, by 10:30, right? 11 o'clock, already you got to pack everything up, you know, and flush it down. That's what you got to do. This is one way to do it, if you want to do it this way. But the thing is, you know, to do it this way, you have to be very careful. Why? Because you don't want to leave any chametz, you know, around. You know, make sure. Some people don't like to do this. You know why? Because they get scared, you know. Maybe something is going to be left, you know. Also, some people have small children, you know what I mean? So they're afraid, you know, the children are going to take somewhere over there, right? And hide the chametz somewhere. And then they won't be able to find it. You know, it's going to be balagan. You know what I mean? So therefore, what do you got to do in a case like this? If you're scared, you know, to have chametz on Shabbat because you're afraid to lose it, you know, it may get lost. If you're not such a big tzaddik like that, to be careful, so what do? Then you got to get rid of the chametz on Friday, just like you said, right? On Yom Shishi, you got to get rid of it already. So what you can do is like burn the chametz on Yom Shishi, yeah, before Erev Shabbat. You can do that. Probably the rabbi will make a fire over here, right? He makes, right? He makes, yeah. So you burn it. He's not going to make it on Shabbat. He's going to make it on Friday. So if you want to do it this way, to burn the chametz on Friday, you know, right, Yom Shishi. So do it on Yom Shishi, burn everything, and then what do? On Shabbat, you're going to have what? What are you going to eat? No challah, no pita, right? What are you going to eat? Matzah. The problem is, the matzah is asur, because you're not allowed to eat matzah Erev Pesach. You understand? The other one, okay. So let me explain to you how you do this, you know, the best way to do it. The best way to do it is like this. The problem is, you're not allowed to have matzah Erev Pesach. Asur. Erev Pesach is Shabbat. So, what's the problem? Why can't you have the matzah on Erev Pesach? What's the reason for this? The reason is because if you taste it, right, you're not going to eat it on Leil Pesach but te'avon anymore. You're not going to have te'avon anymore to eat it. No desire.
You don't have appetite.
No appetite, exactly. Good word, I like that. Appetite. Best word. Right? You're not going to have appetite. So therefore, Chachamim said, you know what? Don't eat matzah on Erev Pesach. Asur. Okay, so then what do? You got to have some kind of a different matzah, you know, to solve this problem. Different kind of matzah, which doesn't have the same taste. You understand? So there's different ways to do this. One is you can have matzah ashira, you know? What's matzah ashira? Egg matzah. Egg, right? So it doesn't taste like a real matzah, you know? It's like sweet a little bit. It's got like sweetness to it. You know, it's soft, sweet. It's not the same taste. So therefore, if you want to do it this way, you can do like that. You know, bring egg matzah for Shabbat. If you don't want to have chametz on Shabbat, as we said, right? If you don't want to do that, you're scared of that. How do you do it, Rabbi Yonatan? You have chametz on Shabbat, you're going to have or not?
In the morning.
You're going to have, right? Tzaddik, he's going to do the strong way, the chazak way, right? But some people are scared, you know, to do this. You know, right? You know what I'm talking about. Right, pita. Oh, there you chacham, pita. He knows. Okay, good. We said that before you came. That's it. That's the way to do it. He's going to do it. He's gibor. Good. I like that. I like that. It's good. Baruch Hashem. I like people like that. They take chances, you know, risk. They do a little bit of risk. I do it. Why not? But only if you're careful, you know, you gotta be very careful, you know.
If you know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing, exactly, right. That's the whole thing, you know. So okay, if you're on top of it, you know, as they say, right, in America, you're on top of the whole thing, you know, you're careful, okay, good. So as we said, right, either you can have egg matzah, that's one thing, or the other solution is like this, right? Maran Rabbi says, what you do is, you take the matzot and you fry them, you know, in a pan, you know, like in oil. Before Shabbat, right? Obviously, before Shabbat, right? And then it changes the taste. Doesn't have the same taste anymore.
Which pan?
Huh?
Which pan?
Kosher pan.
I
Kosher.
know, but for matzah, for Pesach, or?
Yeah, you should use a kosher pan, for kosher for Passover. Try if you can. The truth is, even if you did it without that, it's okay. But you should try to use a kosher one. But the point is like this: what you do is you fry the matzot, in oil. So this is going to change the taste of it. You're not going to have the same taste anymore. You understand? So now you can have the matzot on Shabbat, which is Erev Pesach. That's another way to do it, right? Number 2, A, right? Choice A, choice B, choice C. I'm sorry?
It's not a motzi.
What? Fried matzah?
Yes.
Fried matzah is going to be how?
It's gonna be a motzi?
Fried matzah, the rule is like this, as long as it has a kazait of size, the rule is that it's hamotzi. If it's smaller than that, it's going to be mezonot.
But we're doing halacha by the Rabbi Ovadia said that we're doing mezonot. The entire
Right, but you're talking, right, but this is Erev Pesach, chametz is already asur. So this is your bread.
No, but
you understand?
you're
This is,
allowed to.
what do you make on Passover on matzah? You make hamotzi or no?
100%
Same thing here.
But you're allowed to eat chametz. You still you're
No, you're not allowed. You got rid of it already. You got rid of it. What can you do, right? You got rid of it. Because this is your bread now. You have no other bread. That's what the Chidah says, This is your bread. So therefore, right. Also, there's another thing I tell you. Another thing, right? Listen to this. I'm gonna get him now. He's asking a lot of good questions over here. It's another thing, which is that the reason why they say, according to Sfaradim, right? There's a minhag to make mezonot on matzah all year round.
Yes.
That's because it's koses, it's hard.
Yeah,
Once you fry it, right, it gets soft. So it's not really the same thing anymore. It has a different texture. Whatever, there's all kinds of things. But anyway, the point is, right, that it's going to be hamotzi. Maran says you have to make hamotzi on that. No question about that. Hamotzi. When it comes to egg matzah, though, so there, there's a machloket between Maran, Rabbi, and the Chidah. The Chidah says it's hamotzi. Maran says it's mezonot. Egg matzah. Machloket. What do I do? I make hamotzi. I make hamotzi on egg matzah. That's what I do. By the way, Maran also did like that himself. Okay, whatever. We're going to talk about that different time. But anyway, the point is, so as we said, right? Either you can do pitot like Rabbi Yonatan, do it like this, and then flush it down the toilet, whatever you got left, right? Before biur chametz. Choice number 1. Choice A. Choice B. Have egg matzah. Get rid of the chametz right on Friday, Yom Shishi, and use egg matzah. Choice number 3. Fry the matzot in oil. Understand? And you can have that for Shabbat, like fried matzot. Right, hamotzi. ברוך ה' לעולם, אמן ואמן. רבי חנניה בן קשיא אומר, ועשה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות ישראל, לפיכך הרבה להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר לא נחפש, למען צדקו יגדיל תורה ויאדיר.